Recording. Okay. So, once again, this is from Taboo 4, Angle of the Angels. And I'd like to point out, which I should have done earlier, now Taboo 4 has yet to be edited. So sometimes I'm editing on the fly as I'm talking. I'm not even done writing this motherfucker. But you know, I figure put it out there. You guys might like it. And Lord knows some of these scenes are worth it. Friday, I mean, I'll do that tonight, but Friday, don't forget, the mid-car chase battle sequence, that shit was hot. I'm talking about, it was fire, baby, it was fire. But, let's get started with this one. Frank's chocolate brown gaze flitted over to his partner's green-eyed visage. Green eyes, green spiked hair, green everything. Daniel was a troll gened, one of those who had been born of an accursed monster bloodline. That the monster that begat that bloodline was centuries off mattered little, since the genes could never be diluted by the human ancestry. And ever since the Havoc of 2012, they became more and more prevalent. At first emotionally and mentally, the Havoc changed everything in a single night, unleashing a wave of unrestricted energy expansion, destroying the artificial limitations placed upon the Earth from years previous. It also caused the monster-born genes within modern-day humans to become volatile, activating in order to save the individual from anything it perceived as a threat to their well-being, transforming them into the monster who begat their bloodline, complete with their powers and abilities intact. Anything could activate the gene, though, a violent mugging, death, or even dismemberment. It could also activate if the individual sneezed, cracked their knuckles wrong, or felt slightly uncomfortable due to a chilly breeze. Alongside the powers of those far-flung monstrosities came also the ravenous, maddening hunger for human flesh and blood, forcing the freshly metamorphosed monster to devour as many humans as possible, completely and wholly. Daniel Hopkins, at one point in time, stood as the #1 Muay Thai world champion, only to have his own monster genes activate after a bad deal had gone down, resulting in his immediate transmogrification into the nigh unstoppable Ungrim troll gene. Out of any troll gene within the entire planet, of which there were less than 100 of the common type and even fewer of the subtypes, each with their own varying powers and abilities, there were none within the world that was like him. While he shared the same rubbery existence as the Grim Trolls and their heightened regeneration and various energy-based weaknesses, he himself had armored scales that covered him, stronger than steel and able to stand away from his body to become miniature blades. His rubberiness and regenerative capabilities were also far beyond any normal troll gene, and there was also his berserker ability, the maximum troll. No troll in the known history of the world had ever displayed such a ferocious increase in power and ability, and none but Dash could handle the immense increase of kinetic energy that was his legacy pre-metamorphosis. Where Dash, once a young African-American who had risen to the very heights of the Muay Thai World Championship, now came to terms more or less with being a giant, rubbery, garbage disposal mod terror, Frank radiated malice and mayhem with absolutely none of Dash's demeanor. Caramel brown skin fairly glowed with rage, his thick body swaddled in his oversized black bathrobe. Frank Todd was anything other than mere, though human he was. Fairly tall and always frowning, the grumpy man's black afro was still lumpy from sleep, his red-dyed, long straight bangs tucked behind an ear as he glared at his coffee. Though the shop, their supernatural goods and paranormal services store, had provided the gruesome twosome with misadventure after misadventure, Dash had come to know Frank Todd, the Generalist, in all his moods save for this current one. At that moment, Dash looked up from where he sat, 2 plates heaped with fried potato rounds, eggs, and bacon awaited them both, and hazarded a question towards the volatile friend. "Hey there, boss. You okay?" And from here, I actually did this on Friday. Shall I continue on with this, or?
Do it.
Y'all heard it. At least somebody. Thank you. At least somebody actually cried out. You know, just
3-word chant. 3-word chant.
What? Anyway.
Real.
Hey there, boss. You okay? Huh? Frank grunted from where he stood by the one long bay window that made up the wall of their living quarters on the second floor of the shop itself. Sitting on the small breakfast table, Dash rocked back on his reinforced chair until it stood perfectly balanced on 2 legs, his hands and feet easily 5 times the size of a normal human's as they dangled against the floor. Boss? Why are you staring at your coffee like it pissed in your cereal or something?" Frank's frown deepened as he glowered at his coffee. "It's Monday." Dash looked around the open-air living quarters, the rhyme and reason of the place known to those who could see. The feng shui had been maximized, virtually nothing stopping the free flow of energy from one segment to the other. Living room, workout space, kitchen, bedrooms, and dining room all lay completely unseparated from one another, save for a small bar that separated the kitchen from the rest of the living quarters, snug in the northwestern quadrant. Seeing nothing that changed the situation, Dash looked back at Frank and drawled slowly, "So today is Be Mad at Coffee Day?" Frank's glower darkened to a further gloominess. "No, I've just noticed a really bad pattern that I dislike." Dash lifted a scaly eyebrow. "Really? Do tell, bro." Frank sighed as he took a seat at the table, setting his cup gingerly onto it as he explained. It's simple. For the past month or so, every time it's Monday, unless we're on a mission or something major mega bad happens, and I end up not drinking my morning coffee. Like, there's always something that's stupid that happens, and boom, no coffee. No coffee for Frank. Dash leaned forward and speared a forkful of breakfast, grinning at Frank. I think the paranoia has finally eaten your brain, boss. Heck, you're even talking in the third person now. No! Frank slammed his fist into the tabletop, watching the sloshing coffee with a degree of wariness and suspicion. If I reach for this cup of coffee, I'm fucked. Hell, probably just looking at this cup of coffee is going to get me in trouble. Dash grunted, shoveling delicious foods into his maw. Bro, boss, look at me. Frank grunted, looking up at Dash as the troll gene gave him his most comforting grin. It's gonna be okay. Go ahead and drink your drink. Frank looked at the mug, reaching for it as he glared at Dash, neither he nor his erstwhile partner aware of the humanoid figure that even now ran up the side of the building across the street from them. Despite that, Frank knew it. He knew Monday would strike again. Raising the mug and glaring at Dash's smug grin, Frank grunted, I hate you sometimes, bro, and immediately catapulted himself backwards, rolling to his feet off of his chair as the humanoid figure across the street leapt from that building and cannonballed itself through their expensive bay window, smashing the kitchen table to bits. Frank hurled his robe to the side, holding a hand towards a smashed and empty mug. See? Do ya? In the next second, Frank backed up, completely on the defensive as he employed parry after parry against the intruder's lightning-fast, smash-hard punches. Frank stepped into the man's defenses, attempting his infamous instant knockout headbutt, only to find the man's guard up, both leather-gloved fists clutched in front of the man's face, absorbing most of the bone-crunching impact. The young man pushed Frank back with a surprising surge of strength, catching Frank off guard and sending him staggering backwards. Frank grunted and sized his opponent up as Dash shot to his feet, catching up to the utter shock of being proven wrong. The young man was of a light olive complexion, his green eyes dazzling and narrowed with concentration. Though his frame was somewhat sparse, the young man's footwork and movements betrayed a wary cunning, a lithe strength. Lithe? Whatever. His black hair was slicked back, looking shiny in the early morning sun. Dressed in a pair of comfortable black slacks, white button-up t-shirt tucked into those pants, and a rose-colored vest, the man looked more like a young butler than a fighter. Dancing to the side, he narrowly evaded a sharp, swift kick from Dash, the young grim troll's roundhouse fast enough to still catch him slightly from the sharp-edged shockwave alone. The young man relaxed visibly as he took his distance, despite the combined fury of the shop rising against him, his green eyes noting calmly the errant white petal that fluttered from his vest pocket. Ignoring the snarls of his opponents, the young man took a step back and looked downwards, noting his white-colored hair tie on the ground only a moment before the freshly shorn hair fluttered to the ground. He had not only dodged Dash's sweeping, swift roundhouse, but a second, knife-edged strike from Frank, the large man having slipped into the moment between attack and defense from a blind angle. Yep.
Nice. Four.
Well, we got 8 minutes. We're gonna stop for now. Just for a 5-minute break. I need to go use the restroom, handle my business, wash my hands. Y'all don't need to know anything more than that.
Oh, it's okay.
One more. We got a couple more segments coming up, so let's do that. Catch y'all in a moment.